Okay. Okay, so this is one of the resources that I found from Alta Regional Center. Some information that they had posted on their website. It's a pretty long document, but there are a few parts of it that I wanted to cover today. So the first part, we're going to page 4. Okay, and this is what I was talking about, how we went from, how we're trying to get away from system-centered to person-centered. And so our system has been so system focused for so long that sometimes it's difficult to make that full transition into being person centered. Um, and so it shows some examples of, like, from it when it's system centered, it's to plan a lifetime of programs, whereas person centered is to craft a desirable lifestyle for the person. System centered, it offers a limited number of usually segregated program options, whereas person centered has unlimited number of desired experiences. This also goes in with, self-determination. And in a little bit, I'll show you a video that talks about how to do person centered, not only with, the traditional, but also with self-determination. And so this, again, it goes from, the options are based on the stereotypes about the individuals, where now we want to find new possibilities for each person. We were just trying to fill slots, beds, placements, that kind of stuff. Now we're focusing more on the quality of life. So these are some of the examples. If we go down here, so the characteristics of the traditional program plans, the goals focus on specific negative behaviors of the focus person to change or decrease. And we see that a lot, right? You see a lot in the IVPs. We'll reduce incidents of verbal aggression. We'll reduce incidents of property destruction. We'll reduce incidents of resistiveness, right? There's all of these negative behaviors that we talk about. And I remember when I was working at the regional center as a service coordinator, sometimes the clients were dreadful of their quarterly meetings because they knew we were going to come in and we were going to talk about all the negative stuff, all the things that they need to do better, right?
Think about being sent to the principal's office when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So now what we want to focus more on, sorry, I have to admit as I'm talking, is that we want images of the future that contain specific concrete examples of positive activities, experience, life situations. We want those to increase. So we want to focus on what they want for their future, not just on what their negative behaviors are. There are some individuals, I mean, to be realistic, there are some individuals who have verbal aggression, and you can implement all the behavior plans you want and, try all the different services, but they're going to continue to have verbal aggression, right? It's just part of how they respond. It's part of their coping mechanisms. The traditional program identifies program categories and service options that are often segregated. These programs are just for, individuals with intellectual disability. And so what we want to move towards is that the ideas and possibilities reflect specific community sites and settings and valued roles in those settings. Those are things like we're doing better with, like, work programs, right? I've been around in the field 28 plus years, right? And so there were used to be a lot of a lot of sites where individuals went to work on the site, right? And they did all the work there. But now we've moved towards, supported employment, the PIP program, getting them out in the community into jobs that are meaningful to them. So I have an individual who loves animals, and his supported employment program was able to get him on at Petco, working 16 hours a week at Petco, and he loved it. We want the traditional program said, the goals and objectives reflect potentially minor accomplishments that can be attained. Where the new thought process is that some ideas will seem far out, unrealistic, impractical, and they'll require major changes in existing patterns, right? So this is funding categories, service options, how the people that support them, the way in which they support them, more towards shared decision making. It's not, we want to move away from reduce incidents of verbal aggression from 5 times a week to 4 times a week. And then they meet that 4 times a week and we go, woohoo, right? We want to go towards some major changes that they have input into. The traditional says that the plans will look similar to the plans written for other people. Do we not see that in the IPPs?
Cookie cutter.
They are cookie cutter. And I can remember, I had an individual when I was at Regional Center who had a goal about trying to obtain his driver's license, working towards this driver's license. And it had been on there a couple of years. And then I left and went into the vendor community. And that client ended up showing up at the agency I was with. And all the goals that I had written 3 years prior were still on the IPP, just as I had written them. And that's when I was really like, wow, maybe we are not doing the individuals justice. And that really adjusted my train of thought and how I was going to provide services. We want the plans to be unique and list the gifts and qualities of that person, because each IPP, individualized program plan, should be individualized. And changing that mindset and the way in which we do that, it's a challenge, especially for those of us that have been around for a long time. It's just easier to do what we've always done. Going person-centered and truly being person-centered is a challenge. And that's why we're having like this community of practice. And this is why I'm going to show you some tools to use to make it, some of the tools I have make it super easy to be able to do a person-centered plan. Traditional program plans probably not even mention personal relationships or community life. So think about the majority of the individuals you serve in their IPPs. Do they mention personal relationships or building community life? Because in person-centered, we want to focus more on the personal relationships.
I had my favorite of all time for an IPP objective was that the client will successfully cross the street 8 out of 10 times.
I'm worried about the
I'm
other
wondering
two.
what about the last 2 times? What's gonna go on? Yeah.
This is a comparison of the 3 types of planning for the individuals we serve. Traditional planning, person-centered teams, and having a circle of support. So it talks about the purpose of the planning meeting, and traditionally it's to coordinate services across disciplinary lines and clarify the staff roles in the implementation of training. We see that again in the IPPs where it lists the goal and then underneath it's specific on who's going to do what, right? And then we train our staff, to complete these data worksheets and how to address those goals. Through person-centered teams, it's to establish a common vision for all participants and discover information needed to focus on organizational change. But the circle of support is to establish and support the vision of that individual and help them build community support in order to meet that vision. In the traditional, the composition of the team were professionals and specialists. Right, that was all of us that that have all the information in theory. In a team, it's about professionals and direct service, maybe family, but in a circle of support, it's to focus on the person and their spokesperson if they have one, their friends, the families. It's more about being a part of their community and having their friends, relatives, or the people they want supporting them. The traditional planning says that the team meets in a conference room or a centralized site. For a person-centered team, it's somewhere close to the direct service workers, like a group home workshop, something like that. And now the circle of support is more about meeting in community settings, whether it's a library, places close where they live. I know we recently did a meeting at Starbucks per the client's request. Not great for confidentiality, but that's where they wanted to meet. And then, you know, the meeting requirements, they don't change, you know, at least we meet annually and then quarterly, depending on the type of service they receive.
The Lanterman Act specifically says that the meeting, the planning team meeting, should take place at the at where the client wants the meeting to be. So oftentimes, you know, historically, we've had the meetings at day programs, residential facilities, at the regional center, etc. But if the client says they would like it at a different location, then we have to honor that request, and also the time of when that meeting occurs as well.
Yes, and one of the things that, you know, it does say where the client chooses. And so you'll hear him say, well, we have to meet at their home, or we have to meet at the facility, or we have, you know, we have to meet at the day program. But it is the client's choice.
Nope. Yeah.
Somebody's not on mute. Okay, got it. And so these are just some more of the traditional versus person-centered versus the circle of support. Who initiates the meeting? It's the team leader that usually does that. And what we want to change to is focus on the person that initiates to reach the goals they're unable to do on their own. Right. So it's not so much what we want and what we feel would be best for them, but what the things that they want to work on.
Also, if a individual in your program shares with you that they would like to make some changes in their plan, and you assist them in contacting their service coordinator, that service coordinator has to meet and revise the IPP within 30 days, according to Lanterman.
And then there's other ones, but the other one that I would like to talk about is the traditional planning. So in a traditional planning, it was that the individual is going to comply with the plan. That individual is going to comply with reducing those, whatever that challenging behavior may be. In a person-centered team, it's cooperate in the development of the plan, right? The whole team cooperates and develops the plan. But in the circle of support, the individual directs the plan and the activities. So when we talk about doing a person-centered plan, there's a lot of different ways that you can conduct the meeting, a lot of different forms and different ways in which to do it. But sometimes knowing how to get those, how to complete those, still making it person-centered, can be a challenge. So excuse my scrolling, but I need to go to page 36.
Now, remember, if in the old days, when people moved into residential care facilities or went to day programs, what the provider would say is, okay, this is our schedule. You know, we did from this hour to this hour, we do this, from this hour, we do this, with this time. This is when we have our meals. This is when we, you know, evening recreation time or downtime or whatever. And this is, everybody goes to sleep at this hour. And we need to get really away from that. That in a way is kind of like the tail wagging the dog, where the facility is telling what the client, what they're going to be doing, rather than the client telling the facility what their hopes and dreams are and what they want from that program.
Yeah, and one of the examples I give when I teach DSP is that, you know, when you have the social rec calendar, their outings calendar, whatever you want to call it, but the individuals living in the home need to have input into that. And years ago, like Jeff said, we just made the schedule. When I was an administrator, I was taught you just make the schedule and this is what they're going to do at that time. On Tuesdays at 5, they're going out to eat at this restaurant. or on Saturdays at 10, they're going to the park. Well, the park, some people love the park. I don't like the park. So if that's on my schedule that I have to go to the park, then there's going to be a problem, right? Because I don't want to go to the park.
I have hay fever. I don't,
So,
it's not good for me to be in the park.
so this is some examples on how to improve the quality of the questions when you're talking with somebody about their person-centered plan. You know, asking questions like, do you want to live with Jeff? You know, sometimes, okay, yeah. But it's like that, you know, using those open-ended questions. If you could live with anyone, who would you most like to live with? That's a very different feeling than saying, do you want to live with Jeff? Or which of the people here would you like to live with? As opposed to where would you most like to live? If you could live anywhere, where would that be? So actually changing the way in which we ask the questions can make it more person-centered. It's going to provide you with more valuable information to put in your person-centered plan. Do you want a community job? Well, some are like, okay, they may not even understand what a community job is. But if you ask in a way that said, you know, what kind of job could we see him or her doing? Or asking them, what kind of job would you like to do? If it says, if that kind of job wouldn't work out, what about working at Walmart? As opposed to saying, okay, we're going to have to find, if we're going to have to find that kind of job, what kind of support would they need? And what would there have to be successful? So these are just some way to improve the quality of questions. And there's another one that I'm going to show that also goes through some questions. So this is found at the Ultra Regional Center. You can find this on their website. It's a long document, but it provides a lot of information. And at the end of it, sorry again, like 70 something pages long. At the end of it, it has all these resources that you can use not only for the individual, but in training your staff, your administrators, your managers on the person-centered plan. And so it has, if you look, I mean, there's a lot. How to conduct the meeting as the group facilitator, using different kinds of tools, whether there's written, there's one program I'm going to show you that actually does it all like on computer, where you could use like a tablet for the planning, because that might be, you know, good for someone who's interested in computers. So these are all just resources that are available. So I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that's on Ultra Regional Center, and you might want to, you know, check it out and see if you feel like any of those would be helpful for you. Jeff, you want to field any questions while I change to the next one?
Well, let me share something. One of the concerns that I've been hearing from providers is the disconnect between what we're being told about HCBS and how we're supposed to be doing these planning and how we're supposed to be doing these IPPs, and person-centered regional centers actually running classes on person-centered planning. And there's like a few people in the community who have been certified in it, are assisting with the classes or offering classes. There's a class right now, I guess, going on at Taft College as well. So we're learning the right way to do it. But then on the other hand, you have service coordinators who in many cases are brand new, who have had very limited experience in life in general. I mean, if you're 23 years old, you know, you're going to live forever, right? You have no health issues, you have no, you know, major concerns. You're probably, you know, maybe you've got some college debt or something, so you've got some financial concerns or something, but not really the major life experiences that some of our clients have had, because we really need to look at who the person is and what they're all about. So you get the call saying, okay, next Tuesday, I want to come out to your facility from 11 to 12 to do the IPP for Johnny. Okay, and you're now thinking, well, this is person-centered planning. I just went to this training where they said we should be doing, a comprehensive look at the client, their strengths, their needs, their wants, and how do we get all that in a 45-minute meeting? And the service coordinator is bringing out with them last year's IPP, and is going to probably use that as a starting point by which to develop this year's IPP. And for those things that in essence look like they're the same, they're probably going to be written as the same as last year's. And that's really where the challenge is. It's because then it doesn't become individualized, and we really don't get that focus on the client. But on the other hand, if you're the regional center and you're not being adequately funded for service coordinator positions, and you've had a huge turnover in the folks that you've had, so you've got a lot of newer staff who are, still like cutting their teeth on this whole process, it's very difficult. So for those of you who are in this business for the long haul, in many cases, you're going to be the trainer for the service coordinator, and you're going to have to take a more active role in that meeting to really share that, wait a minute, we need to spend some quality time looking at what this person's all about, and where do we go, and how do we really respect what they would like to see in their plan. And again, that plan is a piece of paper. How do we then implement that to make sure that we really are giving this person what their hopes and dreams are all about? And doing it, there's so many issues to look at too. There's, what are their health concerns? Developmentally, where are they? What is their age? What are their concerns? I'm now starting to get into that senior age group, and there's some very definite issues in terms of like health, in terms of employment, in terms of retirement, in terms of relationships that have changed for me over time. My kids have grown up and moved off. There's other things that have changed developmentally for me. So why are we not looking at that for our clients too? Because as clients age through the system, you said that there's one set of criteria for children, for early start, for children, for teenagers, for transition age individuals, for young adults, for middle-aged adults. We're now starting to look at maybe some senior programs for clients. So that what happens when a client says, I don't want to work anymore, I don't want to go to a day program anymore. How are we really incorporating all of these areas into the planning process to make sure that we're really looking at the person as a whole? So, okay, Lisa, you're back on.
All right. So one of the things that I do when I'm going to meet a new individual is that I don't look at the referral packet with the IPP and everything until after I meet with the individual. And I have found that to be successful for me, so that I meet the individual and learn about the individual. I don't have those preconceived notions. I don't have all that information that comes from the packet. I meet with the individual first, and I talk to the individual, and I get to know the individual. Then after that, that's when I go back and review the packet and take the information they gave me and the information in the IPP, medical psych, whatever, the CEDAR, all that kind of information. So that's just one of the ways that I do it, that I have found to be successful.
An example of that was a number of years ago. I had a very irate mom call me when I was working at the regional center, and she was concerned about her son. I guess when he was younger, at one point, he and another young man went into the restroom, and sort of out of curiosity, sort of were doing something and it was a one-time event. But that then got written into his plan, and every year it got put out there as that there was this issue related to, you know, him and sexuality, which never really occurred again. So it became part of who he is on paper, but wasn't part of the reality of who he was.
So that's why I try to meet the individual first. I'm going to show you another site information. This too comes from Alta Regional Center. But one of the challenges that I have faced and that I have seen is that when we start asking them questions and try to be more person-centered, you get a lot of, I don't know, I'm not sure, you know. So these are some, this resource will help you. It's a workbook you can print out if you want, but it'll help you kind of guide, facilitate the meeting, but still using the more open-ended questions. So it just talks about who is part of your life. Make sure that you meet somewhere that's comfortable for them, allow them to invite who they want to invite, but more importantly, so when we get down to like this, what are some great things about you? And they go, I don't know. What do you like? What are things you're good at? What are things that you're proud of that you're done? What are some things, nice things people say about you? What do people thank you for? So these, so this information, this resource right here will give you guiding questions to help you through the process. And it goes through each section. This is what are some great things about you. What things you like to do? Again, I don't know. So you can start asking, well, what do you like to do at home? What do you like to do at program? What do you like to do for fun? This helps guide and facilitate the person-centered process. And I loved this resource because it gives you some specific questions to ask. Because sometimes, what do you like to do? And they go, I don't know. And I go, well, I don't know either. And then you turn to the family member. Do you know what they like? We're moving away, right? So we want to give more opportunities to answer questions. If you ask them, what do you like to do? And they go, I don't know. But you ask them, what's your favorite movie? Or what kind of movie do you like? They're able to answer. What kind of music do you like? Right? So when we get more specific, we'll learn more about them, about things they like to do. Similar to what things don't you like to do?
It's not uncommon. I think someone did a review and they found that people who are with our clientele get corrected or redirected probably 4 times for every time they get attaboy, attagirl, you know. So when you find that they're not answering, in many cases, they're not sure what you're asking, or their self-esteem is somewhat low and they don't feel like they're really a valued individual.
They don't want to answer in fear of judgment.
Right.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, right? We're going to talk about what their best work day is, what their weekday is right now, and what the worst weekday would be like. So it will be things. Sorry, I have somebody coming in. Yeah, up front. Okay. One of my individuals came in and I have candy in my office, so she was needing some candy. So these are some questions that you can ask about their weekday. If you just say, what do you do during the day? I get up, I have breakfast, I go to program, I come home, I take my meds, and I go to bed. But let's get some more specifics. What do you eat for breakfast? What do you like to eat for breakfast? When do you leave for work? What would your worst Friday look like? So this is just a whole list of questions, again, to help guide instead of just a generic general question. These are some specifics to help draw those answers out from them, so that the plan is really more person-centered. And again, this is a workbook that you can print off the Alta Regional Center website. What is most important to you? Again, if you just ask that, they may not have answers for that. So we could ask better questions like, what are great things about you? What is most important for us to remember? What things do you want to make sure are in your everyday life? Like, is coffee important? You know, so these are some guiding questions about what's important to them. How we can successfully support them. What are your hopes and dreams for the future? Okay, this is asked at the IPPs, right? What are your hopes and dreams for the future? And they say, oh, I don't know. You want to continue to live, whatever it may be. You want to continue to live independently, or you want to maintain the best possible health, or you want to continue to go to day program? And they go, yeah, that's it, right? So these are some questions to make it a more realistic answer for that individual. I see it all the time when we ask them, what are your hopes and dreams for the future? I don't know. And they've learned to say things like, keep living where I'm living, you know, go to work, that kind of stuff. So some of the questions would be like, what would be your best future? What do you want in life? Where would you live? By yourself or with others? What kind of job would you have? What would you do for fun? When they answer these questions, it is a more realistic view of what their actual hopes and dreams are for their future, not what we have basically trained them to say, right? Because their hopes and dreams stay pretty consistent across the years of their IPPs. Where do you live, work, play, and who's part of your life? So this is a great resource to help with, you know, open-ended questions, but a little more directed for each section of the plan. So there's also the game plan, thoughts about your future. This is another book that you can print out. So great resource to look at. If you're struggling to find a resource that works for you and your agency to be more person-centered, this would be a great one. Any questions or comments? Stop share.
Now, as you all are starting to work towards person-centered planning, what are some of the concerns that you're seeing in terms of developing plans that are a bit more client focused? And you can just open up your mic and share with us what you'd like to share.
Hey, Jeff, this is Dante. I know for us, the difficulty for us a lot of times when we're doing the person-centered is mainly when we have the individuals that are nonverbal. So to put something that's person-centered into an individual that's nonverbal is almost really more of the staff given what they feel is what the individuals want compared to what the actual individual wants. So, you know, to do something that's person-centered for an individual, again, that's nonverbal, has been a challenge in just regards to trying to make it person-centered for them. So we try to say, you know, this is what we know they like, but again, is it really what they like? Or is it really what they want? So we do the best we can at that.
Next video, I'm going to show a video, and on this video, it's called a one-page profile and how to do the person-centered, and it's going to address not only a traditional person-centered plan, but it's also going to talk about individuals who are nonverbal as well as individuals who are in self-determination. So hopefully it'll help a little bit, Dante.
Yeah, and we actually do that now as well, Lisa. We do have that where we have a one-pager, because I have a one-pager for myself as well. So right, Damon? Damon had us doing that for everyone. So that's so mentor. We're actually already in the stages of doing that one-pager for everybody.
Awesome.
Oh,
I was going to say that also with persons who are nonverbal, they are communicating. Everybody communicates one way or the other. So if I, am grimacing or smiling, if I'm resistant, if I'm, cooperative, those are ways of telling as well. And I recently saw a webinar on assisting clients, or it's called Everybody Communicates. And I will look for it right now. And if I can find it, I will put it into the chat. So if people are interested, they can take that as well. Okay.
But with that, you need to find a way so they can communicate with in the way and see the right or or whatever you need to find a way for them to tell you what they like, what they need.
I'm on mute. Sorry, you need to find a way for them to communicate, for them to tell you what they like and to tell you what they need.
Right.
So we have a client that's nonverbal and is finally learning words. And his way of communicating with us is like bumping us, or, he will like say a word or something that shows us that he doesn't like something or he doesn't want something. But we have another client who is verbal but can't express like certain things. And then we have, of course, the deaf one who tries to sign for us. So we're kind of in the same situation, trying to understand what our nonverbal clients are trying to plan for us, or what we're trying to plan for them in a situation.
Have you ever looked at a communication device?
Have you ever looked at a communication device?
We have with our one client that's deaf, we communicate through sign with him. But for our other client, we just got him less than 30, like just barely 30 days ago. So it's still a learning process for us.
If you would let help on that, let me know, and I'll come up with an idea for you.
If you
Oh,
need
that would be
help-
perfect. Thank you.
Nicole used to work with the what was it? Communications Technology Center here in Kern County. When we
Assistive
had that,
technology.
Technology Center. And so she is very well versed in that type of equipment. And in addition, she's available to come out to your facility to talk with your DSPs or your staff on HCBS issues. She is a member of this grant team and
Okay.
works here at Bakersfield ARC 12 hours a week, and is available to come out and share both her own life experiences and her knowledge as an advocate to assist you with meeting HCBS Frontal Rule goals.
Oh, that would be awesome. We'll have to get with her.
Yeah, you can either you can call Irene, the first person on the screen there, on my screen anyway, and let Irene know, just here at BARC, 834-2272, 834-BARC, and
Yeah.
We will set you up with an appointment.
Yeah, we have a few clients that go to BARC right now. So,
Oh, good.
all right, thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Okay, I'm gonna show a video. It's about 15 minutes, but it has a lot of valuable information, and it is about the one-page profile and the different individuals and how you can make it work. Some of the written plans they show are kind of blurry, and I don't know if they're blurred out for confidentiality. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to show this video.
Lisa, is there volume with that?
It's up. Can you hear it?
No.
I am not sure why.
Sometimes when you do a video, I've done, there's a little box that you have to check when you first get on. It says, because that happened to me on one of my webinars earlier on.
Well, I guess I won't show the video then. Let me copy and paste it. And I'll put it in the chat. It's a really good video. It's from Tri-Counties Regional Center, who has, this is on their website. Let me put it in here. I put it in the chat if you want to watch it, because again, it addresses individuals who are nonverbal and how to complete that one-page profile. It also talks about individuals who are in self-determination and how you can use that for those individuals, because right now, you know, self-determination is a pretty big push. And so it addresses, it shows a couple of examples of person-centered planning, and it shows a couple of examples of those that are nonverbal. So sorry, I don't know what button I was supposed to push, but we'll go on to the next resource.
You know, technology is great and works great until it doesn't.
Until you don't know how to use it, like me.
Right. Well, we have had our challenges here at the Bakersfield ARC with some of the earlier webinars as well.
Tammy's the tech guru and she's not here, so that's part of it. Okay, let me go to the next one. We're going to do
So what about the community?
okay.
Hey. You.
So the next few websites are just tools for you to use. You may be using one right now and it's okay, but you feel like maybe, you know, there's something that could be better. Or if you're using one that you think works really well, please share it with us today. Because these are just some that I found, but there's so many tools out there. So if you have one that you really like, please share that information with the group today. So these are some training videos and publications that you can get. It's My Choice is part of what we saw in the Alta Regional Center. But if you look down here, there's videos on person-centered planning. These videos will be helpful in training your employees about person-centered planning. If you have employees like I do, I have some employees that work for me that have worked in the field for a very long time. Whether it's been in licensed residential care facilities or supported living or both, and they've been in it for a long time. And so if they're not trained and then in person-centered planning, then they still have the vision of the system focused, right? And so it's not only important for us to know about person-centered planning and how it works and what tools we can use, but it's important that you have your employees involved as well. I was going to show one of these videos, but I guess I won't. The videos are great training. This is person-centered planning that's produced by parents with adult children, which is, I think, could be really helpful for those serving adults. The principles of person-centered planning in an easy read guide, because we also have to change the way that the individuals that we serve see their plan. Right? If you have an individual who's 45 or 40, 45 years old, they've been doing it the same way too for all these years. Right? And so we need to teach them about the new approach and about person-centered and circle of support and what that means for them and how that changes things. And so there's one, a personal story. It's right here, Larry's story. That's what I was going to show, but it's about his person-centered plan and how he, in his own words, changed his life through person-centered planning. And I think that would be it's a great video, especially for training, or even showing to the individuals. We have, when you have your house meetings or something like that with them, maybe you could show it. We have regular quarterly meetings as a group with the individuals we serve and do consumer training at least quarterly. So here is some really good resources. I should have done this for Alta too, but I will copy and paste it in the chat. Does anybody have any questions about this one? Does anybody have one that they think is really successful that they're using? Nope, quiet group today.
Go ahead, David.
No, I was just saying nothing at this time as far as video.
Okay, now I'm going to pick on somebody here. Mitzi, you guys are doing a lot with person-centered planning at Mars Group and your other programs. What are you up to these days?
She may not be there.
Okay. Go ahead then, Lisa.
Okay. Okay. Share screen.
While she's doing that, just for your information, the 2022 DSP workforce data collection will begin in May of 2023. The Department of Developmental Services is collecting data from agencies that employ DSPs about factors that impact the workforce. Now, registration is required to participate in this, and the data collection effort will collect data through an online survey or agency direct service professional for the calendar year 2022. Vendor agencies who are eligible to participate in the data collection and complete the survey in its entirety will receive an $800 incentive after the data is collected at the end. And DDS is offering 2 online webinar meetings to vendors and agencies about this. And they are Thursday. Actually they've already taken place. So never mind on the meetings. But if you are involved, you can get stipend for participating. Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, this is another tool you can use. Okay, this comes from this circle, what we call circle training, and this is the SLS training toolbox. So it's like 300 pages geared towards supported living, but this information right here that we're going to look at isn't specific to SLS. This is just an idea, and this is for adult life. So focusing on the adults, and this is just like another form, another way to do the person-centered, right? You can do the 1 page, They have some that are, like 4 or 5 pages long. There's some that decorate with the things that the individual likes, and some are just written in boxes. Some are just written like a document. So these are just different ways to look at it. And this just again talks about who's it about, who's on your team. It's always important to talk about who's on their team, because they may not realize that they have a team. And so talk to about who they enjoy being around, who helps them, who can they talk to when they're upset, when they're happy, when they're having a problem. Again, listing some great things about you. What do you like to do? What new things would you like to do? I know a lot of times when I ask individuals, when I first meet them, do you have any hobbies? And most of the time they're like, no hobbies. So but maybe they've seen something like to do, but they haven't done it. So explore things about what they would like to do. Sometimes they don't have a lot of answers because they haven't been exposed to a lot of things. What makes them happy, mad, frustrated. It talks about their work. It talks about how you live now and how would you like to live. And then again, your dreams and hopes. And this one talks about what scares you the most about your future, because sometimes, even I sometimes, worry about what's going to happen in the future, for the individuals I serve, for my business, for my family, right? And so we all have things that, we might worry about or think about what's going to happen in the future. So do the individuals that we serve. And then this talks about what do you see yourself doing in 3 to 5 years, and what support would you need to get there, and who can help you. And so this gives a sample, a completed sample, which I thought was pretty helpful as well. And this is about Jeanette. And you can see that people that support her, are a tutor, a friend from church, her sister, the next door neighbor, the whole team, the people that she has regular contact with and she feels supports her. And then it goes through, what are some great things about you? That's a pretty intense list. A lot of things, which is amazing, but that doesn't mean that everybody you serve will have that many things listed. And you can see how they did about how to get there from here, about you, what you like to do, whether it's around town, at home, for fun. What new things would you like to do? She'd like to have a job. What I like about this too is that if you notice in the answers, it says Jeanette said, and what she said, and then what others said. So this allows for the plan to be to show exactly what Jeanette said, but also like Dante was talking about, when you know them and maybe they're not able to, communicate really well, then you could, note what they indicated and what others said, or you can indicate what you've seen and how you know that that's what the individual likes or dislikes. So I do like this one, that it differentiates between what Jeanette said and what the other people on her circle of support said. So these are just to show you kind of what they had said. And so this is what are your hopes and dreams for the future? And Jeanette said, not sure. This is where it would be really good to use the questions we showed earlier, the more open-ended, but gearing those questions, those open-ended questions, to the specific area. So this would be a great area to maybe ask more questions, to see if there was more answers that you could get. So I'm just kind of scrolling through so you can see what they said. and what a completed plan looks like. This is a really detailed plan, don't you think, Jeff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, time is a constraint. We are working within what we can do. But if this is an ideal plan, I mean, it really clearly is. And for those of you who have been through person-centered planning training, this is what they're teaching you. But we also work in a reality of the day-to-day of what we can really write, what regional center will put in that plan, you know, how many folks we can get around the table. I mean, these trainings are available to everybody, and today we got 28 people, but we theoretically could get 100, and so people have a lot of things going on, and the ability to put a lot of time and effort into this plan, unfortunately, is not rewarded. With the funding just isn't there for you to spend a lot of time with it, for regional center to spend a lot of time with it. So that's one of the other things that we really need to do, is advocate for greater resources so that our providers can spend the time to create this type of a plan.
Right, and something that could, I don't know, Dante or Damon, do you guys do the person-centered, your one-page plans at the meetings with regional center, or do you do it prior to the meetings with the regional center?
And so right now we're introducing it to the teams and like to new hires and to the team as we're rolling it out. So we're trying to take steps as far as when we are rolling out this one pager, and then having the one pager completed at during a ISP generated in there. I'm sorry, at an IDT meeting. And then from there, being able to share that with all the staff who come on board, so they know how to assist that person, what it is that this person-centered thinking is for that particular individual. And so we're still working through it and trying to get good systems in place and work through how we're rolling this all out. So again, we're at the beginning stages of it, but we are definitely trying to make some headway to have these things rolled out and get folks to thinking with that person-centered thinking.
Yeah, so I would think you could start the process, but even without it being at an IPP or an IDT meeting, start the process with a group, that knows them well, even if it's the administrator, the manager, and a staff, and start this process and share that information once the meeting happens with the regional center, and have more input from them to put together like a complete plan. Because this plan right here likely isn't going to happen at an IDT meeting, because like Jeff said, it takes so much time. But maybe in steps, we could, complete it in steps. All right.
Thanks for that feedback.
All right, there's that link for that example. And like I said, this is like a 370-page document, so it's towards the end. If you want to check it out, let's see, what are we going to go here? ECPT. Again, just another example. This is called the person-centered planning tool. So this is just another possible tool that you can use when you're doing, when you're putting together the person-centered plan. This comes from New Jersey, so it might need to be modified a little bit, especially the terms that they use aren't the same as the terms we use. A support broker might be more like for self-determination. What do they call them? The ones that take care of the funding. Financial, I don't remember what they're called now, sorry.
Fiscal intermediaries.
Yeah, the financial facilitators or something like that. Yeah. This is just another way for it to look. again, the plans, these plans have the same information, but the way they look varies, and some of the information, how you obtain it's a little bit different. So this is just another tool that you could use. And they ask the questions a little different, like, what do you and others like or admire about you? Positive qualities, things that are important again. Who needs to, what kind of support do they need and who needs to support them? This
Um,
might be a good one. What do caregivers and providers need to know about how you communicate? What language do you read or write? It says this section also includes information about how you communicate non-verbally, how you let others know if you're happy, sad, excited, angry, disagree, understand, or want to go somewhere. So this is, geared towards those that are nonverbal.
Lisa, I just put on in the chat, everyone communicates, the CQL, which is a national organization, is having a webinar tomorrow, 5/4/23 at 11 a.m. And it's everyone communicates, tricks, tips, and guidance when using the PALM. The PALM is a specific document that they use, which is a person-centered planning document, which is something that's proprietary to them. But the resource would be excellent for looking at ways of communicating with people who are nonverbal. So again, I put up the webpage for the registration for that, and it's tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. And then here's some about the employment, about their history of employment, or if they're unemployed. This one is nice because it's just a checkoff list, so that's nice. Voting, mental health. So this is just another tool that you can use. And I will put this one, again, because this doesn't come from our state, you may have to modify it. Stop there, put it in here. All about being person-centered. Sorry, I'm not very quick, y'all. Okay, so this is just a resource. This talks about the one-page description and some templates. There's some a video to use during trainings. You can click over here on the home and community-based service requirements. So this is just some more another access to more tools to be able to use.
And if you're interested, if you could take that off again, so I can see the top of that page, Lisa. Okay, you see where it says Michael Small videos? Michael Small has an institute, and so if you type in his name into a Google search, you will get a large amount of information on person-centered planning. He's sort of the initial guru in this field. I first saw him in 1996, and he was talking about this. So he's been around for an awful long time, and he sets the standard for person-centered planning. And like I say, he's got an institute. You can get training through that institute. There are a lot of tapes. There are actually videos you can watch him doing person-centered plans. So an excellent resource to Google is Michael Small, S-M-U-L-L.
Sorry, I'm writing it down. Okay, let me copy. Lots of resources today. All right, And then I wanted to show one on progress for providers. Okay, so this is an assessment tool for providers to determine the progress they're making in providing person-centered supports. And so this talks about, this is the training program on how to show if the person-centered supports that you are providing are being successful and you're making progress. So I thought this was a great tool because we talk about it, about writing it and, making sure they're involved in it and who else is going to be involved and all that. But it's like anything else, if it's not successful, then we need to change it. We need to make sure. So this is just the site. You can see it says you can contact us for more information or to arrange training for your organization. So this is not a free resource, but it might be a really good resource to use. Does anybody want to share how they determine if their plan is successfully working? Nobody?
Lisa.
Goodness.
Hey, it's Tammy from Inclusion Films.
Sorry.
And this isn't about residential care, so I hope we have really great attendance for our program. And that's what I like to tell all of my staff. It's like, if our students willingly want to be here, if they're excited to come here every day, then we're doing something right. And I know that's not like scientific, but it kind of is, because the data shows us that our students are excited to be here. They want to do things with us. They want to do things in the community. They want to participate in our after program activities. So that just tells me that we're on the right path.
Most definitely. Because attendance can be a challenge for some individuals in the programs.
I think that's also going to be something that we're also going to see in a group, how especially if it's person-centered, we're not going to say you have to be here. You have choices, you have autonomy. And as our students, as our clients understand and have that power, I think that's really going to affect what is working versus what is not working. Because what works in Kern County might not necessarily work in Alta or any of the other regional centers, but what works here, the proof will be in the data, the attendance. And that's always what I say. Like, we're obviously doing something right when we have 100% attendance across the board. So little things like that.
Yeah, Liz, that's an excellent point. I was doing a training at a site one day, and somebody raised their hand and said, okay, I have a question. We have Susie, and Susie is really resistant to this particular part of the program. So we can't get her to go to the 2 o'clock activity that we have set up. And I said, well, if she's resistive, maybe it's not the right program for her. Have you ever thought about maybe developing something different for her during that time slot? So, because she's telling you she doesn't want to be there. And just like your clients are on a positive note saying that they want to be there, it works the other way too, that if clients are not attending or are resistive during part of the day, that may be an activity that they're not interested in.
And when I teach CSB, I talk about, be careful in saying you have to do this, right? Because that gives think about when somebody tells you, you have to do this. Sometimes you're kind of like, I don't have to do anything, right? I'm grown. And so like you said, Tammy's just saying that, instead of saying you have to be here, saying, you have a choice. But this is what we, this is the requirement, or this is what is expected, but you have a choice whether or not you meet those expectations. That's a very different approach than saying you have to be here. If you want to be in this program, then you have to be here and have good attendance. That's a different approach than saying, attendance is really important in this program. You have the choice whether or not you want to come, but these are our expectations. And if you put those expectations out there first, I could see that being more successful. That's all the resources. Sorry, all the resources I had. I'm sorry couldn't get the video to work, but please check out the video. It's pretty good.
Any questions or concerns that people would like to raise? We'll just sort of open it up now to the forum. And if people have something they would like to share or talk about or ask, please do so now.
I think a lot of people are just starting to really roll this out, like Damon said, so it might take a while till you start hitting some barriers or having some questions, but that's all I have, Jeff.
Okay, well, just one last thing, again, that if any of you would like to have Nicole come out to your program and talk with your DSPs or the individuals that you serve to your home, please let us know. The one issue that we may have is that we need accessible dwellings. Nicole utilizes a wheelchair, so we need to be able to make sure that she can get in and out of your facility. But that being said, I'm sure most of you are accessible, and so that shouldn't be an issue. With that, I bid everybody a good afternoon, and thank you for sharing today. Did you want to say something, Nicole?
I have one that you remember that the people that you help and they are people who help you have to remember that that can what that you have to remember that they are
People too, you're right. Jeff, do they still need to send in the 3 things in order?
Yeah, okay, yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. For 2 things. One is, some of you registered for the initial boot camp, and now there is a separate registration for this series and for the day program series, because this is part 2. We've sent out most of the continuing education certificates for the first part. If you haven't gotten it, you need to get a hold of Irene and find out why, because what we did is we worked off the list of people who had registered and had sent in material every week. So you do need to send to Irene. Irene, could you put your email address up there again for folks, both that you've registered for the series and that you then answered 3 questions about what you learned today, so that we know that you're on the webinar for the whole webinar and that you're a active participant. So we want to make sure that we're rewarding you for doing it right by giving you continuing education credit, which is recognized by Kern Regional Center and Community Care Licensing.
So the second half, this community of practice, is different community.
Then the
Continuing
first half,
education.
yeah. So we sent out basically 6 hours of credit for those of you who took the residential track. If you took both the residential and the day/employment, you got those additional hours as well. And if you haven't received it, let Irene know, and we'll figure out why there's a problem. But if you want continuing education for this today and for the subsequent meetings in this track, you need to register and also send in the 3 things. It doesn't have to be, we don't want a book, but at least 3 items that you learned today. Thank you. And with that, we'll end the session. Bye-bye.
Great day.
You too.
Bye.